Friends, we are live. Daily Hang, number seven-ish. We're going to talk about Khabib Nurmagomedov and the fight that is not happening. Little hint, I 100% am behind Khabib on this. We are going to talk about Kim Kardashian versus the other Kardashian, Kortney. Chloe was the commentator. Why am I talking about that? Because I did a breakdown of it. It's on this YouTube channel and it's on all my social media. Why did I do a breakdown of it? Partly because Khabib Nurmagomedov versus Tony and other exciting fights are not happening. So you got to break down. There was a little break there. Apologies. This chat and hang has been a daily thing, as much for me as I hope for some of the people who find it and like it. Happy birthday to Chael Sonnen. It is Chael Sonnen's birthday today. He is the American gangster, and happy birthday to Chael Sonnen. Question, Jesse, you also broke down Thanos versus Hulk. Any more plans for these type of breakdowns? Those are on my Instagram at Robin Black Martial Arts, and you can also search them in Twitter. Go to Robin Black MMA and just put in breakdown Hulk versus Thanos or whatever. Yes, I will do more of everything, because if I were to live for another 30 years, 35 years, I would do 35 years worth. They'll get better and different, hopefully, and they'll evolve. Quick comment. Of course, my hair looks ridiculous. It always does. But now with the day 21 since I have been home, it's going to look dumber. So you can comment for sure, but I don't mind. I don't have the ability to feel silly, so that's my superpower. Speaking of Chael, how would you think the world would have handled it if he would have beaten Jones versus Dr. Stoppage due to break? So what if Chael Sonnen had defeated John Jones? Now, I worked at a place called Fight Network with my buddy John Ramdeen, and John Ramdeen always wanted to do a what if segment, kind of like what if comic books. What if Chael Sonnen had defeated John Jones? It was a difficult thing to try to do, but yeah, of course. I mean, imagine. Although who knows? Chael could have gone to a party that's celebrating his win and been hit by a truck. We don't know. You never know the forks in the road, which is very difficult to theorize. It's always also a reason you don't look back at things necessarily, because I wish I'd have done X. Well, you could have got hit by a bus that day, and that's the end. But back to Khabib. Khabib, for those of you, most people watching this, you watch this Robin Black's YouTube stream because fighting is your thing. If you just stumbled onto here for some other reason, welcome. Much love. But Khabib has been booked to fight Tony Ferguson 5 separate occasions, and this is the 5th time it has been canceled. There were injuries and a cut that went awry, but this time it was canceled because Khabib has canceled it. There's many reasons for it. Before we get into much of it, let me say that Khabib's the champion of the world. He's the greatest fighter in the world. He has come up through wrestling and combat of all different, unarmed hand-to-hand combat of all different kinds, beaten everybody in the world. From Winnipeg, I love Winnipeg, hello. Beaten all the greatest fighters in the world and undefeated champion of the world. If anybody has a problem with when the rest of the world is saying, stay home, borders are closed, make sure you don't spread this virus, shelter in, nobody should be gathering more than 10 people. And the champion of the world in that circumstance cannot train properly, cannot travel properly, doesn't know where the fuck it is. It isn't confirmed that it's happening. All of these things are happening. And he's like, you know what? I'm not doing this. Good on him. That's his freedom to do that. That's his right to do that. And why can he do that? Why can he do that? And when this is the part we can all learn from this, because he's created a scenario for himself under which he doesn't fight for money. He doesn't need money. He doesn't fight for attention or love or adoration. He doesn't have, he doesn't need to, he has leverage. He has the freedom as the champion of the world to say, if this ain't fucking right, I'm not doing it. right? And it can't be right now due to no fault of the UFC or Tony Ferguson or whatever. We're in a global pandemic that makes it impossible to properly go and defend your title. Now, the company that puts on the promoter that puts on fights really wants this to happen. And I do admire that about Dana White. I also work for Scott Coker, who's the opposite. He's like, let's take care of people's families, number one, and make sure everyone's safe. Dana is a different animal. You don't need to judge either of these. He's a different animal. He's an animal that's like, we fucking accomplish shit that we set out to do. Nothing can stop us. I was there when Bellator had to shut down Bellator 241 that afternoon. I was there. It was hard. And it was very inspiring to be around Scott and Mike and Rich when they took care of everybody, made sure that everyone knew they were going to get paid, made sure to get everyone home to their families, made sure to keep everyone safe. And they were great leaders. I was very, and I am at times also inspired by the blind desire to win of Dana White. And, should this, and if somebody said, hey, Robin, would you put on a fight card somewhere in the world right now? I'd be like, no, what are you fucking crazy? No, absolutely not. But there's something, and Ben, it does. And, in a world where you can put, three Scots and a Dana in a company or a band or a group of people together, you get something good if they can work together, right? But this is just the nature. So I'm not judging the UFC or Dana White. They could do it in Antarctica. Problem solved. Yeah, but hey man, back in the day, the Black Plague traveled on small insects, gnats or something on rats, gnats on rats on boats, or whatever has it, it goes right. But that blind desire to win, I admire it. I'm not judging it. I may not agree with it, but it's cool in its own way. But it doesn't have to force Khabib to do anything because he's free. He's a free champion. He's an independent contractor who's created a scenario for himself where he's not fighting for money. He's not fighting for fame. He's not fighting for any of these things. He's fighting because he wants to be the best in the world. And currently, that's very difficult to do when nobody's in shape and trying to be the right weight and comfort and whatever. And yes, everyone fights injured and stuff, but this is different. When you're not training for days, you're like, wait a second. I'm not just going there to like put on some show because some company says it and then some audience observe it. It's like I'm the best in the world. If I can't be the best in the world and I can't have the fight that I've set out to have, I'm not doing it. And good on them, Austin. Thank you, sir. A lot of people sending some nice comments. Good, Khabib. Well, do I want? And I'm talking about himself having the power to do that. Power is different than desire. Like, I want to see him fight Tony Ferguson. I'd love to see that fight. I've been waiting. Go in the YouTube after this and put in Robin Black, Tony Ferguson. I did a breakdown like 5 years ago on this. Many of them, but one in particular, long form one that you can find. Of course, I want to see this fight. So do you. So we all do. But Khabib's like, wait a second, I'm the best fighter in the world. Would somebody say, hey, Beyonce, you've got a broken leg, or you're like, Beyonce, you have to put on this show. And well, how many people are going to be there? Like 60. Well, can I practice? No, you're going to be stuck somewhere. And well, can I meet my stage designers? No, like just hang around, do what we say until the day or two around it. And we'll get you to some secret location and we'll get this all. It'd be like, fuck you. I'll go and live stream myself to my audience who loves me. Khabib can go home. He can wrestle. And if he's watching, or Ali, how are you, Ali, and Khabib, and any other gang are watching, Khabib, put on a couple of matches in the gym with your closest friend. So there's two camera guys and a close friend who's also been quarantining himself, and have a couple of matches and stream them for your audience who loves you and cares about you. You can see the people are like, fuck you, Khabib's scared and you should be stripped. Those aren't your fans. Those aren't, they don't appreciate you're the best fighter in the world. Those are just assholes who want what they want. And what they want. And then if you ask them, they'd be like, yeah, but we deserve this. It's like, what do you mean? This is the greatest performer of this particular art form in the world. And when you will see him, it will be your privilege. When you see the greatest ever sing, dance, climb, fucking do slam dunk competitions, never mind fight people in a cage. It will be a privilege to do so. You don't demand it, and you don't get it when you do demand it. Of course, the corporation that puts it on, we are fans of them too. They'd really like it. Whether you go into business or just that blind desire to win that Dana White has, we admire that. That's part of what we like. But this is the best fighter in the world. And he's going to do his thing when he's good and ready to do it, when the circumstances are correct for him. And of course, I feel now. Let's talk about Tony Ferguson. Tony Ferguson could very well be the best fighter in the world. I mean, he certainly had to go through every single other person after he was already holding a thing and got injured at random, and shit happened. And then he beat all the best people, finished them astonishingly. And we don't know what would happen. Maybe he would be the first guy to defeat Khabib. It's certainly possible. And then we'd be like, wait a second, he's the best. Under these circumstances, of course we feel for that fucking guy. This guy's dedicated his life to this. Tony Ferguson, if you're watching, man, thank you for fucking building what you built. An artist, a special artist, an athlete capable of defeating this guy. I want you to have this fight. I want you to. But we don't get to control this stuff. It's a fucking global pandemic. If you asked me 6 months ago, what are the circumstances under which you could see every single event on Earth get canceled? I'd be like, global pandemic, like shit like that. These are true black swan events. And if it's happening, and the greatest fighter or singer or fucking public speaker or anything, fucking Elon Musk, I don't care. If they say right now under these circumstances, I can't give you that thing that I'm the best in the world at, too fucking bad. Too fucking bad. So let's just get a little fucking sense. Just get a little sense. The rest of the world has to shut down, but this guy has to fucking fight under all the worst circumstances in the world, when he doesn't need money or want money, when he doesn't need any of the things, when nobody has leverage over him. No, sorry. And again, I feel for Tony and I feel for all of us, but fucking think about it, like with some logic, like just some fucking logic. And I find at this time, when things become a little easier to handle, when you think about how this unpredictable black swan event that is this global pandemic affects you, it's hard. You're anxious. Maybe you get mad. Maybe you type "fuck you, Khabib." I'm not just talking about that fight. I'm talking about anything. The way that it affects you, you feel bad about it. When you think of everybody else, you don't feel as bad. This is a truth. Empathy is a very, very powerful thing. It can be a superpower that allows you to feel a little more serene. When you think about others, right? It's like, I want this fight. What about this fight? Like, Khabib owes it to us. Well, now think about, all the people that could get sick in a scenario in which this happens. Think about Khabib's family. Think about other people. Think about people who don't have the luxury of just sitting around waiting for some entertainment. They're busy trying to survive. Think about people who are taking care of dying people in a hospital. Right? Think of them, and you're not nearly as bothered by the fact that Khabib, the best fighter in the world, is not going to give you his talent that he's dedicated his life to right now. And you will feel a little silly for thinking about it. You will feel a little silly for being outraged that the best fighter in the world has decided to take his time and obey the orders from pretty much every government and every doctor on planet Earth and not fight right now. So fucking cut him a break. And Tony Ferguson, we love you, man. I hope you get your chance, whether it's Khabib or if something changes. You've still got the years. You've still got the 5 years, the 7 years to establish yourself as the best ever. So we hope that it works out for you now. I told you I would talk about Kim Kardashian versus Kortney Kardashian. Of course, the fight's nonsense. Maybe borderline not real, but if you film people for 4 hours a day for 10 years of their life, sometimes they're going to snap, even when they learn how to manipulate media. So it could be sort of real. Those things I do for laughs. I do them for fun. I do them to be lighthearted about it. But I also do them because to show you the full range, the full palette of combat. In one day last week, a coach that I really admire and a journalist who I do some work with that I really admire, both on the same day. I was in Connecticut, in fact, traveling. So they're traveling as well. Both said, bro, those animal things, I don't get it. Like, I don't know if that's good for your whatever brand or like, whatever. And I look and I'm surprised because the fact that I can break down two frogs that actually are probably mating, but to break down the grappling of it, and also break down the greatest fighters ever with the true admiration that I have, and break down funny things, to me is the honest representation of the full palette of what combat is. Animals in particular, we learn by studying and training and repetition and thinking. Animals learn through doing, through play. You watch kittens fighting, and kittens experiment through play. So we have a slightly different analytical mind as than all the other animals. Um, the Kardashians are there to dumb down the masses and make, well, there's a gender implication there that I don't like. I feel the animals are always in a flow state when they fight each other. That's really interesting. Oh yeah, yesterday I said I was going to continue with my conversation about flow and how to access flow. I will do that tomorrow. And if it isn't tomorrow, it will be Monday because this is a 5 days a week thing, but occasionally I will do more. But yeah, when you look at animals, we have the ability to study them and see how they move. And when I do that, I learn a ton about fighting that will affect when I commentate Patricio Pitbull or analyze that kind of work. Um, when, but we also have the ability to do what they do. So we don't just have the ability to study them and in and kind of emulate it. We also have the ability to be explorative through play. And this is a bit of a tangent, but in sport in general, fighting is my particular expertise, but you see this and I've spoke with other people who have expertise in other sports. There's a lot of movement back towards what they call free play or explorative play or unstructured play. Whereas when Wayne Gretzky or Bobby Orr, and if you're not Canadian, these probably aren't household names, but I'm sure it's probably true of Michael Jordan and probably true of some of the other greats. They became great through doing, trying, learning as they do. And then now, for the last 10 years or so, science and like the structure of sport has gone and said, we're going to train you this way, and then we're going to run these plays, and then we're going to do these sequences, or we're going to teach this stuff. And then everything becomes quite regimented. Everything becomes quite mechanical. And fighting is that, very much that. And in fact, anyone who grew up as sort of a playful martial artist has done very well. Not anyone, I'm sorry, but some of the people you've seen that were kind of like standouts in different ways came up more playful and exploratory in their games. Even young Sugar Sean, he hasn't fought top guys yet, but you see it in his game. Conor McGregor had that in his game. Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, from coming up with a different specialization as a kid, he had that in his game, right? So by exploring, all these different things and then seeing regular people slapping each other like these two sisters were doing, they teach us something. Every time human beings or animals or even non-human and non-living things, when you put two machines together and you have them do combat, or you drive two cars into each other, or you use, two objects to like roll them into each other, there's physics, there's structure, there's ideas, there's all of these things. So this is all useful. And then it makes people laugh. Right now, who the fuck doesn't want to laugh? So that's why I did that. It's literally the last video. If you go to videos and you look back one, it's the last video right here on my YouTube channel. And I have fun doing those. And I probably always will do them. That was one of the things when I decided to kind of put 50% or more of my attention to Bellator. They were like, do your thing, man. Do your thing, explore your stuff. Don't, at different times, depending what you do and who your teammates are or who your bosses are, people might start to edit you. But I'm at this stage, for good or for bad, by being able to explore all these different ideas. And then I try to make people laugh today. Two of the richest, most famous pretty girls in the world trying to fight each other. That's funny, especially if you do it in a funny and playful and even poetic way if you can. So I had fun with that. I'm going to take a couple of quick comments, and then I'm going to take a break, eat some lunch, and then I'm going to have Sergio Pettis. So I'll take a few comments and questions from over here, if you, by the time I get through there, if there's a question for, or specific question for Sergio Pettis or Julia Budd, former Bellator 145-pound champion, please let me know. Okay, we're going to take a quick look. Wow, a lot of comments. Holy shit. That's exciting. Who do you think has improved or evolved the most between Tony and Khabib since they were first scheduled to fight? Well, that's a great question that nobody can give you the right answer to. The TV answer is to use footage from Tony's last fights and say how and what this teaches us. And there are things you learn from that. But real improvement happens in the gym. So if you had 5 fights since then and you improved and you said, who's improved more? I could speculate compared to what I saw in your fights. But the truth is the improvement is happening day to day, sleeping, reading, learning, studying, practice, drilling. So by not fighting sometimes you can become even better. But on the other hand, there's a pocket. You fight too much, you get injured, you don't have as much time just for pure learning. You fight not enough and you miss the reality of it. Putin likes Conor. He could get Conor into Russia, no problem. Probably could. He does. Really mad at Khabib. Why does he want is not important to him. It's sad when you're you or me, but it's true. Tony does not matter. The man got stripped because Khabib was not. I think I went over that one. Tony B. Khabib and proceeds go to the coronavirus cure. Fight for a cure. I mean, if you feel like it, but we can't make them do that. They're humans. They all do what's right for them. We've waited 5 years for this fight. What's a few more months? Good point. Tony would be foolish to fight anyone other than Khabib. Yeah, I think that's probably true, but he may never fight him. Depends what you want. Somebody's going to give you $2 million to fly to Abu Dhabi and fight on a thing that's broadcast live while nobody's watching anything else. You might want that. There's a lot of different things at play. Can we at least agree on the fact that if the champ was Tony and he pulled out, the UFC would have stripped him? That's a good point. It's a good point. Back in the day. Yeah, and what's with that? Why would that be? Because Khabib has, not that this should be the be all end all metric, but I'm looking it up. Khabib Nurmagomedov has 19.5 million Instagram followers. Now, Instagram is not the ultimate metric, but it is one. It's a big one. And that's powerful. I don't know how many Tony has. I can look it up as well. Let's say a couple million. If it's a couple million, that means one is 10 times more influential than the other. That shouldn't matter in fighting and belts and stuff like that. And I will defend Tony's right to have the same treatment as that. But that's how and why they do it. They being any company like this, they do it because you have the leverage to say, you better not fuck with us or we're never coming back. And we're taking all our audience with us and we'll say, you guys are dirty. And they'd be like, fuck, we better not strip a beep. And there's a certain cultural corruption to that, but that's where we live. Do you think Kardashians fight is staged? Yeah, I was talking about that. You follow people around enough for years and years and years, and actual emotions will happen. Some of those hits were pretty solid, but they also have been willing to take other, different hits to reputation and all these things for that. How big can BKB get? True BKB is a company called BKB. It's out of England. The North American stuff, I haven't worked for any of them yet. I'm open-minded to it. But BKB out of London or out of England and Ireland and Scotland and Wales and the UK over there, that's real traditional BKB with a history, and it's amazing. Robin would be great assessing guys talking to girls in bars. Question about drilling. Should I create a playbook of plays, aka combinations, and notate which combos to specific counters or situations? No, you should not. You should teach your body you should train neural pathways in your brain by doing repetition over and over and over again. You should not be reading. There can be some value, but not as much as, say, watching and making mental notes. It's not something to study in that way. That's the mechanical thinking. Because if it's like when I slip here, I counter with the right hand, you train that over and over and over again. It becomes normal. Once it's normal, now you start doing it. You start doing it, and it gets time begins to slow, and you see a different way to do it, and you allow it to take shape. It's more art than science. If you're thinking that way, that means you are more of a science thinker. Stimulate the artistic root of it. I see Tony lead uppercut more than rear low kick when the opponent comes to him. Yeah. What's that? Go make a fast translate from Russian to English on the last photos he posted. You'll see that Russians tell him to go fight. Great. They can tell him whatever they want. He still has, there will be people that support him and people that don't. And you don't have to bend to anyone. Where can we watch your Bellator interview with Masasi? Good question. I will find out, and I will let you know on my Twitter, @RobinBlackMMA. So we're going to wrap it there. In short, happy birthday again to Chael Sonnen, American Gangster. I got Khabib's back from, of course, I'd like to see that fight, chance to prove it. But Khabib, the greatest fighter on planet Earth right now, doesn't have to fucking do what anybody wants him to do. It is a gift when we get to see him do his thing, and we will take it when we get it, and we should feel privileged when we do. We don't demand it. Of course, I would like some chocolate right now, but what if I walked down on the street and said, I fucking deserve chocolate, bring it to me? People think I was insane. That's what we're doing on Twitter to the best fighter in the world. So ease up. Please check my my Kardashian breakdown. I'm at Robin Black Martial Arts on Instagram. I'm at Robin Black MMA on Twitter. I'm also on LinkedIn, Facebook, and TikTok. I think I'm the Robin Black on TikTok. Please check me out. I'm trying to figure out how to make meaningful 15-second things. McFly did bring the chocolate. I like it. Thank you guys so much. Please share this if you dug it. I'm doing it Monday to Friday. And that's it. It's a lot of fun. Thank you for hanging out with me, because this is really good for me. I hope it brings you guys value, but allowing the thoughts to come out like this is very, very, very valuable for my work. And I appreciate you hanging in here with me. It means a lot to me. If you want to buy a t-shirt that says Bink or Enjoy the Hostilities or Flim Flam, they're at shoprobinblack.com. Appreciate you guys. Much love. Enjoy the hostilities. Blackout.